We are working with not only the veterans, but also our first responder community. And we really began working with our veterans population when the VA reached out to us as a connector and a resource. There's a shortage of mental health providers across every county, across every state, and we are really finding that partnerships and leveraging those partnerships is something that we can do and we do well. And so we're working with VAMSA in Queen Anne's County, and we're able to help get veteran services in a quicker model, and also working with our Hickson Foundation, who has provided us funding to be able to support the work that we're doing. And so it really became an urgency issue for our veterans community. But the other piece that really is important in the project is that we're not only serving veterans, but we're also serving family members of veterans. And that's a little bit more unique because we know that partners and spouses and children and stepchildren are all impacted by the veterans and the experience that they've had and the experience that they bring home and talk about, or more importantly, maybe don't talk about. And so this is really a designed program to not only serve our veteran, but also serve the support system and their families.
And what are those mental health issues?
I think it depends on whether or not you were in combat. I think it depends on, how you experienced combat. There's some of our service members who have been sort of thrown into battles and fighting and loss and grief. And the whole premise of being deployed is you just got to keep going. And so has there been the time to be able to sit back and say, you just lost 3 of your battalion members? No, not really. Sometimes if we're in the middle of a war and they're on the front lines and they're fighting for our country, they have to go on to the next thing. There's also the perspective with some of the wars and some folks who have served where they might not have the space or the skills to be able to come back and talk about it. When we think about the Vietnam War and how folks talk about the experiences or don't talk about those experiences versus someone who was deployed and maybe wasn't on the front lines, those experiences are going to fall differently. But we know that anxiety and grief and stress all show up. PTSD is something that shows up a lot for our veterans community because it is an experience that they are reliving. And so being able to sit with our veterans community, talk through experiences, but also be able to come with a trauma-informed lens so that it isn't just someone sitting across the table listening. It's actually helping to craft a journey where our veterans are able to learn skills and tools. And again, working with those families so that the spouse, the children, the stepchildren, if they're impacted by the experience of their father, their grandfather, their husband, then they're able also to receive services and have a better understanding of the impact of serving our country and being a veteran of the United States. We want the message to be loud and clear to the veterans community, to law enforcement, to first responders, that it is okay to not be okay, that it is okay to reach out for help. And I don't know how you were raised. In my family, it wasn't a discussion. It wasn't something we typically would sit down and talk about. So we want to create the space where it's okay to have the conversation. And also be able to say, not only can you have the conversation, but here's the experts to be able to help you in understanding and unpacking what you've been through. And that's a piece with this project that's been really important, is that we are training all of our therapists who are already trauma certified to be able to understand the veterans' culture. Because that's the other half of this project. We have to ensure that our team is ready for whatever walks through that door. So with the Hickson Foundation money, not only are we able to say to veterans and their family members, you can be served at no cost to you, but we're also spending time and dollars and resources to be able to train our team so that there's a cultural understanding of the veterans community. We use Jeff Thompson, who is a retired New York City police officer. He also himself served in the veterans community and working with veterans. He comes in and talks about trauma and the impact. And it's not just a click-by-click training. It's a training where they're talking about real-life scenarios. We have folks who are coming in and really saying, here's how trauma affects the brain. Here's how life skills can be built in. Here's how medication can be helpful. So it's really walking you through all of the steps and isn't isn't simply just an online tool. It's really about the dialogue and conversation with the trainers who are experts in the field. And that's the beauty of For All Seasons. Our Center for Learning is bringing national experts to this region to ensure that it isn't just someone at our agency saying, hey, I read a book and now I understand this. These are national experts coming in to really dig into the impact of trauma, the impact of PTSD on the brain, and that's the most important piece to ensure our culture is ready for whatever walks through the door. So we're working really closely with our Veterans of Foreign War, the VFWs, the American Legions, VAMSA up in Queen Anne's County. We in fact had a professional photographer come in and take portraits of our veterans through the VFW as a way to be using our community heroes within our marketing campaign. You'll note that there's billboards out on Route 50 and things that say it's a tactical move to get help. And so really being able to be creative, working with Mayor McCardle, who is one of our contract graphic designers, and she's done a wonderful job putting together a campaign for us. So really talking about it in the community and using some different resources so that we can put our best foot forward to reach the veterans community.